Hello, everybody. Welcome back this Thursday night, April 27th. I always forget to put my hand lotion on until I say, hey, how is everybody? So if you see me reach that way, but all of a sudden I realize when I go on air, my hands feel really dry. But it is so good to see you. And sorry that we didn't do an actual show this week, this past Sunday. I was sitting there so busy putting together all of the photos, and I realized I had them ready to go in time, but I didn't know how to show them as a video in the middle of a live stream. So I thought, well, I only know how to do one thing for sure, so I put it on as its own show. But I apologize. I was kind of making the decisions right up to the last minute. I'm so glad you got to see it. I tell you what, I did it. I got there on Thursday, and it was hot. It was mid-80s, and I'm not used to that, so it took it out of me. So I went around and I immediately started taking photographs, taking photographs. And then the next morning I finished, and I tried to make sure I had gone everywhere, covered every quilt that was entered. And as you saw, most of the quilts were demonstration or on exhibit. And they were done by different quilt shows. In fact, I can tell you really quickly, and I'll go over it again on Sunday, okay? But they have a list of who did demonstration quilts. So, let's see. All right. Special exhibits. There was 20 perspective bridges curated by Phyllis Cullen. Best of the Bees, 22 Busy Bees Quilt Guild in Fountain in South Carolina. Color Me Quilted by the Nimble Thimbles Quilt Guild. Every quilt tells a story, and every story leads to discovery. The Upstate Heritage Quilt Trail did that one. And they were showing what kind of barn quilts people put out. Then Fabulous Faces by Jean Impey and Freddie Moran. And Hope Quilts too. Those were wonderful quilts. I didn't have them totally all together, but they were done during the pandemic. And I thought that was really lovely. Then Inspirations, the Creative Spark. SACWA had a show, and they had a demonstration. That was wonderful. Then Into the Meadow was the 20,022 Hoffman Challenge. Then I Spy a Barn Quilt, Barn Quilts Across America for the Sunday Driver. Then It's All Around Us, Textile Art by Quilts on the Wall. And this was a 2021 challenge to members of Quilts on the Wall to see if they could do a double entendre, a quilt with a double meaning. Then the Landrum Quilters, LQ Proud. They're proud that they have a lot of achievements in their local community. So that's wonderful. Then Personal Viewpoints, an International Fiber Art Collective. That was really interesting. And let me see, there've got to be more because we know that, Carol, let me see. What was her name? Carol Fallert Gentry. Here we go. More special. Then Photos, Pixels, and Pizzazz Digital Quilts by Carol Breyer Fallert Gentry. There. Now I said it right. Then Peaceful Protest by Allison Allen. I love the peaceable protest. Then Quiet by the textile artist of Virginia. There were so many exhibited quilts, and it was wonderful. Sea Creatures, Quilts on the Wall. That was wonderful. And I think it was Quilting Arts Magazine and Quilts on the Wall, an association of textile artists in Southern California. That's wonderful. Simple Lines. Living near the center of power, such as Washington, D.C., can change a person's view of the world. So that was wonderful. And that was another SAQA exhibit. Then Stretching Art and Tradition, Dawning of a New Day. Then Swimming Upstream, Quilts by Bonnie Smith. They were delightful. Teach a Child to Quilt. Those quilts were made by children 7 to 16 years of age. Love that. Okay, with guidance, they did their quilts. Threefold, The Art of Triptych. And there was even a diptych. There was one 2-piece. The triptychs are 3-piece wall quilts. They were done by the Mountain Art Quilters of Asheville, North Carolina. Then the WPA Quilt Project. This was done by the Old Kent Quilters of Chestertown, Maryland. That's where one of my daughters lives, right near there. And what they were showing is these blocks were put out free by the WPA. And it was just wonderful to see. They brought back some of the old blocks, and it was wonderful. In fact, I'm going to do a shout out. I saw a white gloved woman, and somebody accidentally put the wrong information by a quilt, and she found the right information and switched it. I loved that ingenuity. I love that because she could have just sat there and said, well, it's not my show. But she cared enough to get the right quilt. Now, as you notice, something has made its way back to me. So, yeah, now you want to, well, what I'll do is Sunday, I can do a quick breeze through of them and try to figure out which one belongs to which thing. And that way I can narrate it for you. Okay. So I got my quilt back yesterday, and I was happy to see it back. Honestly, I missed it and thought about it. And in fact, on our site, I'll put the list of all of the people who placed, and so you can see. Now, I'll make sure before Sunday that I go to quiltfest.com and find out who was the viewer's choice. I got my information back with my quilt. This is a wonderful little iron-on tag that I get to put on my quilt to show that it has been exhibited at a quilt show, which that is really nice. I got the comments back. They're fair. But you know, when I judge that little quilt show, I tell you, I try to put something positive on every quilt because the person who made it, that's their baby. And unfortunately, maybe they were tired or busy. They didn't put anything positive. And so I'll show you. This is my judging sheet. See that? Mine was quilt number 3013, Wooded Bliss. So for all the design, I got G, which is good. All my other quilts have got very good, and at least one excellent. But anyway, this got good. Okay. I disagree with that, but okay. Now here's where, yes, they had some good points. And they said the piecing applique was good. My quilting technique needed work, and my finishing needed work. And so it says here the tension issues on the back. That is true. And then it says should be consistent, finishing needs improvement. Well, I did tell y'all that when I was, oh, thank you, Michelle the quilter, that I did tell you that when I was reading something, it says if you have a densely quilted quilt, you need to carry that out through the border, or else it won't have the same heft. And I tried to go in after the fact and put a little stiffener, but I guess it didn't really work. And I think they would have liked to have seen more stitching on my border. But I definitely know it needed to be padded out because the weight of the quilt was hefty. The border's kind of thin. So, but, oh, thank you. But anyway, that's what happens. Now, if you enter the same quilt in a whole different show, you could get something totally different. But the things that she pointed out, I did have some tension issues, and I didn't want to take them back out because I was in a rush at the end. And that's another thing. Oh, honey, thank you. Thank you. And that's another thing. Don't try to rush something and enter it in a show because you're not going to do your best work. And to enter it, you really should try to do your best work. But anyway, I got it back. It was a fun experience. I learned some things. Don't be in a rush, and make sure if you're going to enter something in a show, for me, yes, I'm still glad it was. In fact, that's another thing. I was surprised there weren't more entries into the quilt show. So keep that in mind. I think since the pandemic, participation has been down. And sadly, we probably lost a good amount of quilters during the pandemic. But maybe people have kind of backed off from that. And I think we need to enter these quilts in shows because keep the quilt shows alive and vital. I hope you saw that in the film, there were some great vendors there. Speaking of vendors, okay, first I'll show you my name tag right here. And you'll also notice I had a ticket for the ice cream social. I didn't make it. My GPS is so old. How old is it? Well, they'll no longer do updates on it. It's that old. So I was trying to get back to the convention center, and somehow it thought I wanted to go home. And by the time I realized what was going on, it was oops time, and trying to turn around to get back to go. The traffic there. When you go to Greenville, it's a lovely area, but you have to get on 85 to go anywhere. So if you just want to go across town, you have to get on Interstate 85 and then find the right exit and get off. 85 kind of bisects the downtown. So that was tricky. But anyway, here is my name tag. And I bought a pen. Since I put a quilt in the show, I wanted to have that pen. So I've got this to remember it. And I am sorry that a good amount of the pictures were blurry. But I got to tell you, trying to take pictures around people who are coming in to look at the quilt is tricky. Trying to take pictures when you're hot and sweaty and you just want to sit down is tricky. So I showed them anyway because I'm like, you know what? I did the best I could. I took hundreds and hundreds of pictures. I did go to a lecture by Raynell, what is her name? Merrill. And so this is her handout. And she shows different movements, muscle memory things. I'll put this on our site. And then there were a couple. They had every day, if you buy a ticket to get in, you can go to the lecture, and they're wonderful. And I would have liked to have gone to the meet and greet. That would have been nice. But here I'm going to show you. They've already put a card in for the Pennsylvania Quilt Show coming up in September. And then here was, they had workrooms for different classes. And then they had vendors. Let me see. Yeah. These are the classrooms, and this was just the big vendor mall. Okay, so you're given that. And then, oh, yeah, I'm going to save. When I ventured a quilt into the show, I like to save all the paperwork that came with it. And I hope you stayed. You watched the, I hope you watched the photos of the quilt show to the end, because I went ahead and put the video I took of the hotel room. And that was just something that I sent to Mark and my kids. But I loved hearing my voice being so excited. So I said, I'll put it in there anyway. It was like, I was a little bit embarrassed, but anyway, this is all my paperwork from going up to the show. The hotel was glorious. And I think Mark was very afraid that I was going to stay. But that was so cute. Oh, gosh. But it was a lot of fun. And the hotel room was really, really nice. And to get it at a discount price was wonderful, because normally I can't stay at a place that fancy. So anyway, so they had a shop. I thought I was going to take time to go shopping, but it was hot. And being in the mid to upper 80s for 2 days, by 2 days I was there, made it tougher to really want to take the time to hit all the shops. And I don't like crowds. And all of a sudden, especially on Friday, it was crowded. But I found a wonderful, wonderful shop called, oh boy, now I've forgotten the French. Hold on one second. I hate to, because that's the only place I did any shopping. Oh, and be careful. They had this one shop that had these items that would heat up if you just push, they were gel packages, and if you pushed on a thing, it would heat up. He put this big thing on my shoulders. I was already so hot. So I was like, okay, and you can take it off now. Oh my goodness. I don't know if any of y'all are like me, but I do not like to get hot. Okay, let me find it. Here are all the different vendors. And somebody was selling some wonderful pizza back in the cafeteria part, but it was too hot to want to really eat. All right, I'm going to find French Connections. French Connections from Pittsburgh, North Carolina. They had the coolest shop. They had exotic things, stuff from Africa, Morocco, you name it. So I bought this fat quarter, and this is, you see how stiff it is. This is a true African made fabric, stamped and waxed. And in fact, the shop, yeah, it still got the smell. The shop had the smell of wax from the batiking process, the stamping process. Here is another one. I love that. And some of these, I'm going to incorporate the designs on them in my Zen Safari. And this, I don't know, these are complementary colors, and they're just so pretty. They just grab your attention. And one more fat quarter. Here is this one. Isn't that gorgeous? Thank you. Oh, the Moroccan looks were wonderful. And okay, so then they had this, and these are African print skirt panels. And each panel Let me see if I can show you where a pan. Okay, goes this way. If you were to buy enough panels, depending on your size, and a panel goes right down along here, and you would cut the panels out and you could make a skirt for yourself. Well, I found out this is indigo process too. It's a stamped indigo. And well, I'm crazy about indigo. But I thought, you know what? This might make a really cool denim shirt or denim jacket. Cut the designs out and sew them by hand onto the jacket. The last homely house, she did a jacket like that about a year ago. And so I want to find her thing, but I thought, isn't that cool to take and cut these pieces off and then do something with them? And it's nice and stiff because it's been waxed, and you can definitely smell the wax. And her whole shop smelled like that. And then she had all kinds of hand woven baskets and just all kinds of things. Well, I still have plans to make an Art Deco quilt with some fabric I bought 2 years ago, I think. I've been collecting for it. Well, I saw this fabric and I thought, it kind of has that Egyptian look they were doing a lot of discoveries in Egypt in the tombs. At the time, Art Deco look was popular. So that's where you'll get that crossover in the two. And I saw that and thought, that would be perfect in my Art Deco quilt. So I bought a yard of that. So, but it's probably good this is all I bought because this was $45. So, that's the problem. You don't sit and add it up. Before you know it, you buy enough fat quarters at $2.50 or $3.50 or $2.99 to $3.50, and it adds up. But I'm real tickled to have these, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with them yet, but there they are. Usually I only buy fabric once I know what I'm going to do with it, or have an idea, or buy a collection or something like that. Let me see if you have any questions. Oh, yeah. I tell you, that's cool because, I can get pretty much any normal American quilting fabric online wherever I want. But to find a place like that, I love my fair trade baskets. I love them. They had a fan that I saw that I loved, but it was $19, and it wasn't too much for the fan, but I'm just on a budget. I always say that. And they had the handles for this fan. The fabric was that stiff African fabric, and the handles were wrapped in leather. They were so pretty. And you'd open it up like that and put it together, and it made a glorious fan. But I said, no, I can't spend another $20. But I wanted that fan. I love leather and I love handwork and all of that. So I could have spent hundreds there if I hadn't have been very careful. She had the most interesting things. All righty. Let's see if there are any questions. But it's exciting when I see a fabric that's different, All right, let's see. Hi, Barbara and Melanie. I hope you got my email, sweetie. I'm sitting here working on the next block, but I've got to I'm making it because it's complicated, and I might have to change a couple of these instructions. So I will get that to you. Let me see. Lisa's here. Melanie, Lisa, Betty Middleton. I love seeing Barbara here. Barbara, I hope you are a member of our group SIO because I love seeing you. And let's see who else. Miss Marcia's here. And Polly wrote that I saw her letter on the site and it said, are we having a real show? It's like, oops, sorry. But to be honest with you, I was exhausted. I got back Friday night at 7:30, and then I had to unload everything, put everything away, and then Saturday, oh gosh, we had grocery shopping. There was so much. I was still exhausted. So, okay, let's see. Oh, Lisa's working on a channel now. All right. That will be fun, Lisa. Oh, that is great. You always wonder when they get a good name, you think, is that what's coming? Well, let us know because we would love to check you out, hon. Okay, let's see. Let me get back down to the bottom. I'm having to use the other mouse so I don't lose my chat and my hand shaking. But, so this week I had all these things planned. I'm going to make a new canvas, a weatherproof canvas swing top for my triple, rocking swing. I was going to have that made. Mark took the old one off. It's laying out there for me to measure and use as a pattern. I haven't done it. I'll get to these in a minute, but I have been making paper beads and watching old movies all week. I wore myself out when I came back this weekend. I was exhausted. So the dogs and I have been just kind of holed up nice and quiet, and I've been binge watching. I watched all the rest of Sanditon, was happy with how it ended, and I've been rolling paper beads. And it's funny, I haven't done paper beads for about 6 weeks, and I was thinking, do I still love paper bead making? Oh, yes, and I'll tell you more about that, too. So Denise says, oh, thank you. I do love this shirt. Teals and blues are my favorite colors. So let me see. Okay. Y'all have been chatting good. Oh, I'm so glad, Betty. I wanted to make sure I covered as much as I could. Oh, and getting better, Betty. I'm seeing Betty Middleton said last week 3 of her family members were in the hospital. That's not good, but I'm glad they're out now. Thank goodness. But no, all of your comments were so sweet. And I got to tell you, this is just between you and me. I was a little disappointed that my quilt didn't place somewhere. But when I go there, the quilts that are on display are so amazing. And I've entered 3. I haven't won anything. And I have to really decide. This year, I thought I had really done a good job on that one. But what I'm weaker on is the traditional, the finishing. And that's what I've always told you. I'm not a good traditional quilter. And my talent lies in envisioning something, creating something. The follow through is hard for me. That's why when I was friends with Michelle Lang, we were such a good pair because she was an excellent technician and I had great ideas. So anyway, but when I know, I'm glad y'all got to see all of the pictures and I enjoyed looking at the pictures. When I go to a quilt show, I have this inner competitive spirit that is a little too excitable. I could be extremely competitive if I let myself be, and I try not to. And when I go to a quilt show and I'm looking at the quilts, I sometimes get pretty depressed because I think I could never do most of the quilts that I see there. They are just the best of the best. And it almost sometimes kind of, I had to give myself a little talking to. and said, Deb, don't compare yourself to these other quilters. They That's their thing. That's what they do. And I'm happy for them. I really am, because it must feel so good to get a ribbon or acknowledgement. I look at like Carol Bryant Fallard. I never get her name right, but her stuff is so amazing. On my very best year, I couldn't do the things she does. And you know what? That's okay. That's her gift. And if we were all as gifted as her, then she wouldn't be who she is, and we all treasure her. So, I have to tell myself, don't go there and compare your quilting to theirs. Go there and find certain techniques or ideas that inspire you. Because it is a hard thing. When I went, I got I would go back to the room thinking, I'll never be able to do what they do. That's okay. I don't have to. I'm Deb. I'm not them. I do what I do. And as long as it gives me joy, that's all that matters. And y'all were so great giving me reinforcement and all of that. And it's wonderful. And we do all need to compete. We do need to enter these things if we can, because if we don't, we won't have them anymore. So, support your local quilt shop, support your local quilt show, and try to turn your thinking around, which is hard for me, that I go to enjoy the beauty and to admire the talent and not compare myself, I guess. Does that make any sense? I hope it does. But, it's so good to see all of you. Michelle the Quilter, love that pink flower you found. So anyway, thank you. I do love my quilt. I really do. And yes, if I could have built up the outside of it better, and if I should have been careful when I was quilting it to make sure that the tension was the same on the back, but whatever, it is what it is. So thank you. Thank you for all your support, and I want to support y'all too. If ever you want to enter something, then I'm going to be cheering for you just as big. All righty. In fact, I put some of my little necklaces. I take quilt photos and put them under a little glass bezel and put them on an inexpensive necklace. Well, I put a few of these in my pocket, thinking if I saw somebody who's watched the show, well, there were two ladies looking at my quilt. I think it was a mother and daughter. And I went up to them and said, I'm tickled to see you so interested in my quilt. I said, I made that. And they were like, oh, that's so neat. And so I told them, they wanted to know, well, how did you do this? And how did you do that? So I kind of gave them a few comments on the way. But I said, I want to share these necklaces with you because you made me happy taking the time to really look at my quilt. So that was fun. That was fun. So, well, thank you, sweeties. Y'all are wonderful. So I do have these to show you in a minute, so we'll finish up with that. But I'm working on this beach quilt. I want to show you a couple things while I'm working on it. And I do want to tell you, not too long ago, I bought some Coats and Clark's polyester monofilament. And I tried using it and it kind of acted up, so I put on the, what is the name of it? The Superior, which is probably my all-time favorite. And it's doing better, but even it's given me trouble. And I'm going to tell you that, really, I normally would love to just go back and forth. Like, if I go down one side of a feature, I would like to go backwards, go back up the other side. Monofilament just doesn't like it, at least not on my machine. Your machine might work better. But I'm going to bring you down here. Yeah, oh, thank you. Oh, hey, Nancy Lynn. So it is so good. And then Denise, y'all are wonderful. So here we go. And the one thing that I want to warn you is don't go backwards. The other thing is make sure that your machine is really clean and ready to go. Also, if you find your thread starts breaking too much or you get, it sounds like it's seizing up a little bit in the bobbin, monofilament or monopoly, which is what this really is. The monofilament, the reason we stress the difference, monofilament was made out of nylon. You don't want nylon invisible thread. That stuff stretches and rebounds. You know, it's a mess. Polyester is much smoother. But I found it only likes to sew one direction. So I have to keep cutting my threads, then going back up to the top and sewing that normal direction. And a couple of times I have tried to push it by going backwards a little. It gets all hung up under the bobbin. Then I have to take off the throat plate and take out the bobbin case and get my hematocrits and pull out the pieces caught in there. It's a mess. So let me show you what I've got now. Alrighty. Whoops. No, don't want that showing. Put this down here. All right. All right. Let's see. Let me go down just a little bit more. All right. Now, come on. I don't know why it's not doing as good a job tightening up for me. But, okay. So, let me bring up my thread. Let me make sure that's cut. And another thing, too, is always be checking to make sure that you still have, whoops, what happened is, so I was telling you, the monofilament, you know how you have this little bar that comes up, whoops, hold on. Let me get it to come up. There it is. See that? The monofilament or the monopoly will want to jump off that, okay? So then I often have to come back. Let me bring this up. I have to come back and rethread it to make sure it's stuck in there. With normal thread, you can kind of peer at it and see if it's still through this little hook here. But with the monopoly, you can't see it. And it's really tricky. Now, hopefully, I won't have to open up my bobbin case because it hopped out again. But what I'm doing, I've already done one side. Let me see if I can get my threader to work. I've been having to thread it by hand because, yeah, I think it's too much to ask of a sewing machine to thread the needle with something that's, as thick as a human hair. So, whoops. And then finding the way to the end of it. It's a tricky mess, I gotta tell you. But it's part of the thing. Now, if you either didn't have any monopoly or didn't want to put up with the extra mess, then you know what you can do is just use matching thread and try to do a small zigzag. Now, I'm going to bring the light over. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to zigzag this fencing here. Okay. Superior is Alex's. It used to be, well, Superior was supposed to be its own company. I don't know if Alex ended up buying them out. That's one thing I would have to check. But Alex, I know, was their sponsor, their spokeswoman for a while. And I haven't really heard of the company Superior. So she might have actually bought them out. All right, let me see. It's saying my presser foot is not lowered, but I know it is. Huh. Okay. When you have a machine act up like this, and it's just doing something odd, turn it off for a good, especially if it's a computer machine. No problem. Hi, Diana. Leave it off for at least 10 seconds. Let the computer reboot itself. Then I got to put it back on a zigzag stitch, and let's see. No, I think I've still got some tangling in the bobbin area. So I don't feel like taking the bobbin case out, but I was just going to show you. I can show you without doing the actual sewing itself, because I was doing it. I was sewing it about, hour and a half earlier, so it did work. And it's just trying to, Ooh, what's with Jody? Yay! Oh, how wonderful! We'll have to have a party on May 11th. Yay! Okay. So let me show you all what I've been doing to this today. One thing I did was, remember how I had a different top part of the sky? I had this piece, and it came right after this turquoise piece, and it was just too jarring. So I found that I need to buy some more blues. I had a tricky time getting the sky to kind of ombre darker without it being too much. And let me do something real quick here. Jody, I'm so tickled you get that pesky port out. Thank goodness. Okay. Yeah. What I did is, I wanted to show you, I didn't want to leave that whole piece of blue because it's just going to be a little bit. So let me, it has to heat up. But anyway, so I wanted to take off the extra blue. But what I came in here, I took and tried to really search through my blues, and I found this one, and now this one. So that looks better. Then I found this amazing fabric. Let me show it to you up close. It's lighter than it looks there, and it kind of looks like the ocean with tiny little ripply waves and stuff on it. So I found that, so I made room. I cut this piece back and hemmed it. Then I was able to put this piece in. And I think it gives more of the real ocean feel. So now I have a better sky. I am so happy for Jody. That is just amazing. Hi, Pat. So anyway, so I'm done with my color blocking. And then I've done almost all of my zigzag stitching with my monopoly thread. And like I said, if you don't have it, or you don't want to, it is finicky. I'm not going to try to, convince you otherwise. It is finicky. So, and I did have to do some popping off of fabric. Where was I? I forgot where I was going to iron. Oh, well. I was going to iron something, now I forgot. But anyway, so here is, let me hold it up. Let me get the camera. Yay. All right. Now, so see, you'll be able to see this way if it's a better sky. And I think it is a better sky. And yes, does it still look a little choppy? Yes, it's supposed to, because you're going to use thread painting and ink tints to blend it in. All right, so now let's come back here to it. And what I'm going to work on next is ink tints. Okay. All right. Now, I'm not going to mix. Normally, I take ink tints. I get a little container and put a 50-50 mixture of some kind of fabric medium or textile medium, and 50-50 in a little cup. But I'm not going to actually do that part of it tonight. So let's talk about what we are going to do. Here are my ink tints pencils, and you might actually want to use the blocks instead. It's entirely up to you. But I think we'll start right. I hate to start down here because I'm going to be leaning on it. So let's move back up to the top. But I do want to show you one thing. Hold on. I like showing you something to get you excited about what ink tints can really do for your work. So I am going to do just a touch to show you. But if you look at these fence posts, okay, they were just kind of all blah, whatever. And let me do this side of this one. I need to sharpen this because it's a little blunt. So, and be careful, your shavings, if you get them wet with water, they will leave permanent dye wherever the shavings fall. So be careful. So here is this old gnarly post. Let me get that all gnarly and the top of it. All right. And so I've got to decide, where is my sun coming from? And on the opposite side, I've got to mark the shadowy part. Okay. So, and I'm going to do just a, few little, these aren't pristine pieces of wood. These are cheap little slats, just enough to try to hold the fencing together. All right, so here I go. And I'm coming down here to put on the side. I'm just going to assume the sun's kind of, well, it actually is coming up this way, but I've got to decide where to have it. Now, so I'm putting the shadow here away from your eye, but as the fence swings around, then I'm going to switch sides that has the shadow, okay? And that'll be from that sunrise coming up. So now I put this down this side. Okay. Here we go. And then some places I'm going to put, I want to show a little wear, a little distress. Whoops, I don't have that one down very good. I know where my glue is. Okay, so let me put this back down. I missed that to stitch on. I'm just so happy about Jody's news. I can't stand it. That is wonderful. So happy. All right. This is just doing a little bit of this. Then I'm going to take, some brown, do a little bit of marking with this. And then I'm going to come in here with a lemon yellow and do a little highlighting where the sun may be starting to touch a little bit of it. Here, and then here. I've got to remember which side to switch to. And right here where the sun might be starting to hit. Okay. Now then I'm going to get some gray. And I'm going to distress the tops a little. Just trying to figure out where would the wood, how and what and where would the wood show distress. Then down here where it touches the sand, I'm going to bring in some sand color and look like the sand is kind of piling up against the fence. All right. Now, let me go ahead and get just a little bit, of my textile mix. Oh. All right, I need a little bit of water. And a little bit of this acrylic textile medium. What acrylic textile medium? It's the acrylic that's in like acrylic paint, but without the color, okay? So it's just an acrylic base. All right. So now let me grab a paper towel or rag. Here we go. I've got my rags. I can keep my brush clean. I'm going to start on the lighter plate pieces first to keep from, I don't want to contaminate the medium, and I don't want to cross-contaminate the pieces that I'm painting. And this is going to instantly bring character to this fencing. Every once in a while, just give that brush a little wiping off, or else you don't want the work you've done to start to look muddy. And what I'm going to do, as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to hold it up and show you what this does for the piece. Now, these are dark colors, so I've got to be careful, clean my brush, because they'll make everything become muddy. All right, and then this little part of the sand that's built up down here. Let me see if there's a light. Let me see this one. Let me give this one just a little bit of a sharpen real quickly. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and just kind of there, like that. So the sand is swept up onto the bottom of the fencing. All right. So now, let me move this. I don't want to spill it. And I'll hold it up and show you between the two fences the difference it's made. Now, it's going to appear darker than it will be because it's wet, but don't worry about that. Okay, so now this is what ink tints can do to the beach fencing. Do you see that difference? So that's the benefit of ink tints. It can really, really make your quilt pop to life. Okay? So, let me see. Now, don't worry, I'm going to be coming in after. We're going to do ink tints first, and then we'll come in and do thread painting. And that will further define this. So, but this one, now this one's mostly the grays, not the tans, but you can see that this just looks like some gray. This now looks like beach fencing. And if I'm worried that this is a little too dark for the sand, I'll come in here with my ink tints white and lighten it up just a bit. Okay, and I can even come in if I wanted to. I could even come in here with a little bit of sand fabric and kind of lay it over. But this is what I love, the challenge of making it work with the right. Hello, Dolores. Oh, ink tints are fabulous. I love ink tints. And look around at like Dick Blick or Jerry's Artorama. They might have them cheaper than Amazon. But I will tell you, I have had this pack of pencils for almost 10 years. So if you take good care and you don't waste them, they will last a while. And then you can buy the individuals. Like there's certain colors I use more than others, especially white and the yellow, the lighter colors I tend to use more. And you can buy those individually from art stores too. So, okay. Now, oh, that 3-inch beach and lighthouse scenes. Wow. That sounds like something you would be taking to art fairs. And that sounds exciting. One more thing while we're here. This is supposed to be the area of the beach that people walk to get to the beach. And I don't want you to do actual footprints because that's not how the sand works. But come in and put in some ovals, especially on the dark part, because footprints read darker on the beach. And they come from all different directions. You know, some people are walking this way, some people are walking that way. And go ahead and this is where ink tints comes in handy. I'm going to do this also with thread painting to reinforce this. But just get some footprints started in here. And they can overlap. You know, people just walk where they walk. All right, let's see. Whoops. Didn't mean to go that dark there. All right. So I'm not doing this perfectly. I just want to be able to show you. Oh, okay. I love this is a little cap off of a detergent bottle, and I love how it has a place where I can put the brush. Okay, let me see. Then what I'm going to do is footprints are rarely just one shade. So I'll go back and in certain areas, I'll put a little darker bit, depending on how deep the footprint would decide how dark it is. And like I said, I'll go back when I have more time and do this just the way I want. But this is just a chance. I'm going to put a little lighter right above where the footprint is to look like sand is higher than the print. But there are fabrics that have actual footprints with toes and stuff. The only place you're going to get that is down by the water's edge, and not for long, let me tell you. Also, when you're doing landscaping, remember that the 2/3, 1/3 rule really works pretty good. And that is how you place it. Like 1/3 sky, 2/3, 1/3 beach, 1/3 water, or 1/3 sky, 2/3 whatever else is in the picture. Don't put things at the halfway point. That just doesn't work very good. So I picked a fabric that kind of looked modeled like it would be footprint started for you. And then I come back in here and add more to really make that quite evident. So, and what you find out too with your footprints, they're spread out a little bit more here and they're concentrated as you're going into the beach. And I don't know, do I have a little, you could maybe put a little footprint marks going through there. All right, so there I've given you an idea of doing some footprints. And, oh, that'll be fun. That's wonderful, Lisa, going to the beach. Okay, so I think we've shown you this. And this is probably all I'm going to show you tonight because I want to show you one more thing before we say goodbye. Let me put my lid back on these. I take good care of those. Believe it or not, I bought them so long ago, they were like $25. And I thought, oh, that's a lot of money. And now I think that's nothing compared to the use I've gotten out of them. All right, I'm going to hold it up so you can see what we've done on there tonight. Okay. So you can see you first block color. Then you have to stitch everything down with invisible thread. And then you start work with ink tints, bringing the realism into play. Okay, let me tilt this down a little. All right, so I've got to, and I need to put my clouds back in the top. When I took off the fabric today, I need to add these back. But you wait, we've got so many exciting things happening here. And I might even put like a beach umbrella. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But this one I want a little more realistic. And I'd like to do a couple seabirds or something. And here I go. You know how I told you, don't judge yourself based on some of these amazing quilts you see at the quilt show. Because I did get an idea. I saw people, I dropped one of my beads. I saw people who put like a ghost outline of a person on a beach. And I thought, that's so cool. You know, if you want to give the impression of a person there, but you don't want to go through all of that of how do I make a real person, then you could do this outline or just a dark silhouette. It was really cool. So there I go, giving you the reasons why quilt shows are so valuable, because they give you ideas and how would that person, how would I handle this? How did that person handle it? So what I'm bringing over, the reason I've been so active with beads this week is because where is my bead roller? Hold on. I might not have gotten my bead roller out. I bought a bead roller. I wanted the kind of bead roller that I love best is no longer made. So I got really sad. Don't tell me I didn't bring the bead roller down. Well, oh, phew, I just don't even see it. I think I forgot when I was grabbing up my stuff. Darn it, because I've got a great new bead roller. I'll show you the bead roller Sunday. And I was going to roll a couple beads for you. I'll do that Sunday. But I just want to tell you about this wonderful woman. She's from England. And here is the tool I bought. Now, it is $30, but that's free shipping. So she's had to build in very expensive international shipping. So here it is. And the reason I chose this bead roller, it has a nice rounded soft wood handle and a stainless steel part to wind it on. The first bead rollers I tried using were like this, and it's a skinny handle, so it kind of digs into my hand. I put these on it and that helped, but then these are not stainless steel. So the more you use them, the rougher they get and the more bead is likely to stick on it, and then you can't get it off and you have to unwind and ruin that bead. But these are what I started out with. And so this is her bead tool, and she got it here so fast. I was thrilled. So she gives you instructions on the bead. It came in this wonderful outer cellophane package with a little thank you on it. I mean, when I opened this up, it was like Christmas. The little bead tool came in this. Then here, her name is Jillian. And here is the sheet where she gives you information. Then, I love this. She gives you a discount coupon for your next order. She gives you free bead template paper and cutting guides, photocopy these sheets, instructions on how to photocopy. She even gives you 2 beads that she made herself to give you an idea how to use these bead cores, these metal bead cores. And are you ready for this? She gives you 100 free bead cores. And these are wonderful because it gives a finished look to the beads, a really nice finished look. So I felt like it was Christmas Day. I got so excited when I got this. So, and she and I have been messaging back and forth. She's a lovely lady in England, and she's very professional at what she does and very generous. And Sunday, I'll show you. She's got articles out there she's done or blog things where she gives you free patterns, and they're wonderful. And some of the patterns, you print out a sheet and it already has the strips with a beautiful, colorful pattern on it. You cut them up and roll them up and you've got instant bead. But let me show you what I've been doing this week. Look at these. Now, she sent the package in a Tyvek container. So I cut the Tyvek up and made beads out of the Tyvek. And I tried putting a little bit of a heat gun on it, and it kind of like melts, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. But now these white beads like this, I'm either going to paint on them or use transfer decals and put on them. And then these are magazine page beads. I think they're right pretty. Here is junk mail beads. I love the blue. And more junk mail. But I love, these are from a Ethan Allen sales little catalog. And I love it because the paper is gorgeous. And the colors are so great. So this is what I've been doing this week. And these are all ready to be further decorated or to be have their 3 layers of finish, the acrylic sealer on them. But I just think that's beautiful. It's like a teal and dark teal. And so these came out really good. So her bead roller is very much a success. And well, she said when she put in her first order, someone was really nice to her and put in some special extras. And she thought, I want to do that too. So here is one of the Tyvek. It's an uncolored, and see how it's got this little piece loose? So I'm going to show you. You get your heat gun heated up. You can cause that Tyvek. See how it kind of crumbles up? And any edges will kind of, now if you keep going, it will just melt it. But it can give you a little, I don't know, texture on the bead. I'm not sure. But I'm not sure. And you know what, with my asthma, I'm not sure it's a good thing for me to be close to a bead doing that, melting that. But you can. I have seen people use Tyvek for beads because if you heat them up a little bit, they get a little texture. So I haven't been able to master that yet, but I thought I'll just show you. But that's, when you become a real beader, then everything that comes in the mail or packaging goes, could that be made into a bead? And Mark Still will have like a ice cream treat. And he said, do you want the wrapper? No, don't need the wrapper this time. So anyway, and I also make fabric beads. So I'll do another tutorial soon because I've gotten a lot better at them. And I'll show you more about that. All right, I think I'm talked out. Believe it or not, Deb is done. And I'll just come in here and see if you have any questions or comments. And before we say good night, I watched the Carol Burnett 90th birthday special. What a dear heart she is. I tell you, what a neat lady. All right. What was I looking for? I was looking for my mouse. Oh, I'm glad you had a good time, sweetheart. This week I was thinking, I should go down and work on the beach and get more done. But I just spoiled myself this week. And you know what? If I tell y'all to spoil yourself, then I have to do it sometimes too. But Sunday we'll get back to our regular show. I'm going to have a good amount more done on our nod to the 19th century. Thank you for people who've been asking for patterns. And then we definitely are going to make progress on our Zen Safari, my elephant, because I can't wait to paint that. So, yes, have a good rest of the week. I will see you Sunday, 3:05 p.m., live stream, New York Eastern Time. You got to spoil yourself sometimes. And I tell you, just binge watching a chick flick or chick show is wonderful. So it has been very, very nice to just take a week off. All right, everybody. Any questions? If not, I'll see you Sunday, and we'll turn up the energy level Sunday and get a couple things done. All right. So good to see you. Lisa, so excited to see what you're going to do. So y'all take good care of yourself. Mwah. Y'all are the best. Bye-bye for tonight. See you. Do something magical fun for yourself. Make popcorn.